Yo, what is good, YouTube, and welcome back to another JC2K video. In today's video, I'm going to be making my predictions for the Season 3 rewards here in NBA 2K24 MyTEAM. I think we could all pretty much agree that Season 2's rewards were a letdown. Plain and simple, they just weren't very good, with the exception of SGA, who is still the best point guard in the game and an absolutely insane card, and Wilt, to a lesser extent, who is still a very good center, was arguably the best center in the game when he was first made available, and is still one of the better bigs in my team, although the fact that he can't shoot is certainly frustrating. Outside of those two cards, the motor rewards this season were just not very good. The Gauntlet reward, which is Joe Johnson, who's a good card, but still underwhelming. The rewards in general this season were just a significant letdown. I think the motor rewards this season should have been Amethysts. I think they should have been 91 overalls, and unfortunately they were Rubies, and really not particularly viable with the exception of Cliff Robinson. Really from day one, none of these cards made teams. Even Cliff barely kind of made some teams and didn't for very long. And I mean, he wasn't a card that I think people actually as a community were very excited about, even though he was decent. It was a letdown. I'm hoping Season 3 will bring us Diamond Mode rewards, a Pink Diamond Ultimate reward in level 40, which I'm sure those will be Pink Diamonds, but I'm hoping the Mode rewards individually will be Diamonds. I think it's very unlikely. I think they'll probably be Amethysts, and I think they'll probably be letdowns again, and not very exciting. But I hope I'm wrong, and really I'm just here to guess names. I'm just picking names for each mode. I'm not guessing what overall they're going to be. I hope they're diamonds. I think they'll be amethysts. That's my guess. But we'll start with Ascension. Ascension is generally some throwaway good player who doesn't actually get the 2K community excited, just like Christian Laettner. Sorry. I mean, he was a decent card, but the name itself is not that exciting for a my team player, generally speaking. I think Earl the Pearl Monroe makes great sense. He was an awesome player, had a great career, much respect to him. He's not a guy who gets the my team community all that excited about his specific card. He'd be a perfect Ascension award. Nobody's going to be all that excited about Earl Monroe. They're going to get him. They're going to be like, oh, cool. They might try him out for a game or two, and then he's going to sit in the collection. Token reward is honestly kind of similar. This season's was Jerome Kersey was the top one, and then you had a Ruby Phil Jackson and Sapphire Rick Fox. Obviously, we're going to have three again. One of them will probably be a diamond, and then the other two will be Amethyst and Ruby in all likelihood, but we'll see. Maybe it'll be Ruby and Sapphire again. I don't know. I'm not even guessing the lower two. It'll be two random older guys probably from historic time, and then the first guy is a probably decently prominent random guy from an older time, and I'm picking Brad Daugherty. It makes sense. He was a good center in the 80s and the 90s, and he had a pretty good career with the Cavs, and he generally gets a couple of decent my team cards. His card will actually probably be pretty good. It's going to be a card that flies under the radar, but I think it'd be decent, and he makes perfect sense as a token reward card. He'd actually be a solid card. Never going to be top 3 or 5 at his position, but he's going to be okay, and he makes perfect sense as that type of card, considering Jerome Kersey and Tom Gugliotta have both fit that bill to start off this this year of my team. Outside of that, we get into the motor rewards, starting with Clutch Time. Jamal Mashburn was the Clutch Time pick that I said. Clutch Time is just one of those modes where it doesn't ever feel like it's a very exciting name either. Eddie Johnson, like, does anybody excited about Eddie Johnson? No fans. Jamal Mashburn could be decent. So he's had cards before in my team that were like borderline top 5 at their position the day they came out. So it's like not generally a card that people are super duper excited about, but Jamal Mashburn is a budget card, and I'm sure some of y'all have probably used a Jamal Mashburn card at some point in your lineup. He's had a couple of decent cards, so it's a card who could actually be halfway decent, but probably not going to be incredible. Triple threat, I'm going with the current player. I think Domantas Sabonis is a guy who could definitely get a triple threat award. He's a very good player in real life, an elite level player, an all-star caliber player in the real NBA. But he's not a name who's ever going to sell packs. I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen more Sabonis as a reward in the past. And I think it makes a lot of sense to see a Sabonis as a reward somewhere. Triple threat makes sense for it. He could be decent. It'll basically just be Jokic. He's going to be very similar statistically and badge-wise to a Jokic card. Not a great defender, a little bit slow. Interesting and fun offensively, but not particularly elite as an overall card. Would make sense to me. Clutch Online. Probably going to go... My pick here is Walter Davis. He died pretty recently. Rest in peace to Walter Davis. He had a very good career in the NBA, and he's had very good cards in my team in the past. So thoughts and prayers to his family, obviously. 2K did drop Terry as the salary cap reward last season pretty quickly after his death as well. So rest in peace to Terry. Dishinger, of course, as well. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them do something similar with Walter Davis. Drop him as a reward in tribute to him a little bit. I think that would be cool to see it. I think he'd actually be a pretty good card as well. So that'd be a cool one. one for me, and rest in peace for sure to Walter Davis. Triple threat online would be Antonio McDyess is the name that I came up with. He's kind of a stretch big, generally not super duper athletic, but not horribly unathletic anyway. I think he'd be a decent stretch big, probably not a truly top tier elite card, but on the level of some of the guys like Bobby Portis, probably is like a legitimately solid borderline top 5-ish type card the day that he comes out. Probably not a card with longevity or elite level top squad likelihood to make the team, but he'd actually probably be a pretty interesting budget card. So Antonio McDyess is an interesting one. I said for co-op, Tony Kukoc. He's 6'10". He did get a Sapphire at the very beginning of the year, like day one in the set, but it would totally make sense for me. I mean, he's the guy 2K has used for a couple different rewards before and things in like offline stuff. I could see him being a co-op reward, like an Amethyst Tony Kukoc 6'10" stretch wing could be a pretty decent option. The first day he comes out. This is another guy that I just think is not going to be very likely to be super good. I only think there's likely to be a couple of good mode rewards, and Tony Kukoc will probably be a decent one, but unlikely to be great. Unlimited. And I have an interesting pick for this because I'm picking another Nick, and I know that Julius Randle was the Season 1 Unlimited reward. So it's very unlikely, honestly, that the guy that I'm picking is actually the Unlimited reward. So maybe I shouldn't even picked him. But I'm sticking with it anyway. RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett is one of those guys who doesn't really play quite well enough in real life or have quite enough star power, I guess, to get a ton of elite cards in my team. But he's always one of those guys that, like, whenever he gets a pretty good card, it's a really good card. Like early in the year, I think 2K22, he had a Ruby that was really good. Later in the year, 2K22, I know he had a really good Pink Diamond as well. He's had good cards in the past in my team. He's a guy who would be interesting to me. I'm going to be honest. I think his Diamond last year was pretty good as well. Like, he would be very intriguing to me. If we were to get like a Diamond RJ Barrett on Unlimited, he could be a top 5 small. The shooting guard position is not that competitive. Like, would he be better than Diamond MJ? It's possible if he has pretty good defense. An RJ Barrett would be a really intriguing card to see as a reward. I think he makes sense as a name who's like popular enough to become a reward player, but not like an elite level top tier card that's going to sell in packs and stuff. Salary cap. I'm going with Miles Turner, going with the current player. Victor Oladipo was Season 1. He's the current player. Miles Turner makes sense as well as another Season 1 player. Maybe I should switch those two. Maybe I should have done RJ Barrett for salary cap and Miles Turner for unlimited so the teams match up more. But regardless, I think the salary cap player, fingers crossed, at least will be a diamond this season. You would think so with it being the ultimate reward. I don't know who the individual weekly players will be. I'm not guessing those. I'm just guessing the ultimate reward. And a guy like Miles Turner makes sense to me. He's an interesting current player who, again, is not a superstar, not going to sell a ton of packs. But he's a guy who would be a very, very good card as like a rim protecting stretch big with pretty decent athletic ability. Like, he'd be a really interesting card. He's another name that just very, very much jumps off the page to me as a really, really intriguing option at the center position if he were to be a reward. I don't think he's ever been really a reward card either. I know he was in Spotlights last year, I think. But outside of that, I don't think he's ever really been much of a reward card either. So he's a guy who might make sense. Outside of that, you pretty much have level 40. And ultimate reward, and those will obviously be elite. I don't think anybody has any doubt whatsoever that the level 40 reward and the ultimate reward are going to be top tier phenomenal cards. From what we've seen in Season 1 with level 40 being Kyrie and then Brandon Roy being the ultimate reward, and then also having obviously Wilt and SGA as the Season 2 rewards. I think Season 3 will be also great. I'm picking a level 40 who doesn't make a ton of sense, like name value wise, compared to Kyrie and Wilt. But in terms of how excited the community would be about this card, makes a lot of sense. And he's never been a level 40 before. Rudy Gay makes a lot of sense to me. I'm not entirely 100% sure that 2K has his rights, but if they do have his rights, I know he's not currently playing in the NBA this season, but I think he's still active. Like, I don't know exactly how that works. If 2K has his rights, he'd make a lot of sense. We haven't gotten a Rudy Gay card yet this year, and a Pink Diamond Rudy Gay would be like the best wing in the game. Immediately, like a shooting guard, small forward, Rudy Gay would be the best shooting guard in the game. And right now, the shooting guard position is probably one of the weaker ones. Like, Paul George is not really, I mean, it's obviously an incredible card, but he's just a 245K buyable player in the player market. Wouldn't surprise me if shooting guard becomes one of those positions that gets like a new incredible free card. And I think Rudy Gay would make a lot of sense. Level 40, also, ultimate reward. I'm not entirely sure this card would be quite as good as the first two ultimate rewards, which were the best cards in their position in the game easily at the time that they came out, and SGA still is. B-Roy's still top 2, top 3 even at worst if you think MJ is better. But if you have badged out B-Roy, I think he's better. I think as a whole, like, I don't know if a Kevin Garnett would be quite as good as those guys because I think his release is probably slightly on the slower side. So I'm not entirely sure how he's going to compare to a big as good as Kareem, who can also kind of stretch the floor. But a Kevin Garnett, especially with really good stats and badges, would be an amazing card, especially if his release was like on quick or something and he was one of the first ones to get some animation updates to make him slightly better. A KG could be really, really good. That's the other thing to consider. Animations are probably at some point going to start to change just a bit. Not going to see dramatic animation changes in all likelihood for a while, but it wouldn't be shocking to see a dribble style change here or there, a release change in terms of the speeding it up to a quick here or there. We're going to see what happens with that for sure, but I'm really intrigued to see what Season 3 brings because it feels kind of make or break in a lot of ways for a lot of the MyTEAM community because I'm worried if Season 3 content is very good, a lot of the community is kind of going to stop playing the game a lot over the Christmas season. But fingers crossed for good content, grindable content, rewards that are quality and an enjoyable and fun Season 3. We'll see. That's going to do it for this video. I hope y'all did enjoy. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more 2K content very, very soon, and I appreciate y'all. Peace.